Howdy, and welcome to Brandi's Book Stack. Today we're going to talk about the books that I read from April through June, or well, really just the books I finished in June because I didn't finish any in the months of April and May. I know, I got behind on my reading goals. We all do sometimes, so if you do, don't feel bad. Others are just like you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the stacks. So, the first book I finished in June was A Mind to Murder by P.D. James. This murder mystery focuses on a murder which occurs in a psychiatric hospital. And we find out that the people running the psychiatric hospital might be nuttier than the patients. In her typical fashion, her detective, Adam Dalglish, conducts the mystery very quietly and very methodically. And I feel like he's one of the most realistic detectives in detective fiction. This is a great work. It's a good mystery, but even more so, like with most of P.D. James' novels, they give us insight into human nature and into the characters that she has created in a wonderful way. So definitely check out A Mind to Murder. I would give this 5 stars. I think most of P.D. James' fiction is a 5-star read for me. Next, I couldn't help but dig into another P.D. James novel, Cover Her Face. This one was particularly interesting to me. We cover a woman who is a domestic servant, and she's a domestic servant because she got pregnant out of wedlock. And a lot of the book is themed around whether she can be trusted, whether she's really a moral person anymore because she made this awful mistake. How should people treat her? And one of the most wonderful things in this novel is how she sort of gets her comeuppance in the end. And the mystery in this one, the actual plot itself, is really good. It kept me guessing the whole way. So again, the main thing that P.D. James does so well is uncover all of the sort of interesting facets of the people, whether they are the murderer or not, that they are trying to hide, that they don't want the outside world to see. Great book. Again, 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely check out Cover Her Face. I'm planning to read everything that P.D. James wrote just because I think she's an incredible author. Next is kind of a funny story. I picked up this very beautiful copy of Hilary Mantel's The Mirror and the Light at my local Dollar Tree for $1.25. And it was in pristine condition. It didn't stay in pristine condition. I'm afraid I got a little tear, but that was me. It did not come like that. I did not know at the time that I bought this, that this is actually the 3rd novel in the Wolf Hall trilogy. I had bought Wolf Hall because I thought it sounded interesting, and I'm very interested in the Tudor period in history, and was planning to read it, but I started reading this before I really realized what it was. So I just went ahead and finished this novel. I will say, don't be like me and start with this one. For one, I will say, if you don't know something about Tudor history, you're probably going to be very lost. Because I did know quite a bit about Tudor history, and I still felt fairly lost in a lot of this book and had to go back and kind of check history and check. They have a sort of glossary of people's names and who they are in the court at the beginning of this book. See if I can find, like you can see they have the various names and what their functions are. And I thought, I have mixed feelings about this book because I feel like on the one hand, it's told in such a believable way. You almost feel like the writing is such that this could have been a reporter that time traveled back to Tudor England and was writing a memoir of Thomas Cromwell for posterity or something. It feels that real. However, reality can sometimes be a little boring. And I do think there were parts where it drug a little bit. Many people have also criticized Hilary Mantel for being an apologist for Thomas Cromwell. And I kind of tend to agree with those critics. Everything I've ever seen about Cromwell, he has been portrayed as greedy and avaricious. And that doesn't come across in this book. He comes across as a very caring person, who tried to take care of all of those around us. All in all, again, I'd say this is about a 3.5. It's definitely better than average. The writing is really, really well done. I just feel like sometimes it's almost a little too documentary-like and not enough fiction-like. There's not enough fun in this book. It also, this is a spoiler, but it's a spoiler from history. Thomas Cromwell doesn't end well, right? He gets executed in the end. So, that's coming throughout the novel. And that makes it a little harder to read because you're like, well, we're just kind of treading water until he makes the king mad and gets executed. So I didn't like that either. But overall, like the writing does make it worth, I think, a dip into this novel. So if you're interested in it, definitely check it out. But I would start with Wolf Hall and not with this one. But still, a great deal. Definitely worth the $1.25 I paid. Like, how incredible is that? All right, next, my favorite series. You've heard me talk about it before. This one, though, is a little different. And this is An Irish Country Girl by Patrick Taylor. So in this novel, we follow one of the main characters from the Irish Country Doctor series, Miss Kinky Kincaid, which is the elderly housekeeper that keeps Barry Laverty and Dr. Fingal O'Reilly out of trouble. And this covers a little bit how she came to be a bit fey. And by that, I don't mean, part of the LGBTQ community. I mean a bit fey, as in magic. And this book is just delightful. It does have a kind of sad component to it, but it's so fun. It makes me really, really want Patrick Taylor to write a real, true fantasy novel. I think he would do an incredible job, and he would write something different than we see in the genre currently. We follow her life growing up, how she learned she's fae, and most of it is through some personal family tragedy that she endures. But it's beautiful. There's a love story in this that is beautiful. Just, again, 5 out of 5 stars. If you want to read cozy fiction that just, again, won't give you a toothache, isn't too schmaltzy, Patrick Taylor is your man. Definitely give this a read. 5 out of 5 stars. Great, great novel. Next is one of my favorite authors, Bill Bryson. Unfortunately, I need to scrape this awful price tag that's off the cover. Maybe I can do that real quick while we talk. This is one, I normally love Bill Bryson as an author, and I love him because he has such a conversational way of talking in his books. You feel not like you're reading a book. You feel like you're sitting down with a good friend who just happens to be very smart and well-researched on a topic that you're just kind of somewhat interested in. And this one, I feel, was maybe the farthest away from that strength of his. This is all about the English language. You can see I'm getting there. I'm getting there with this. Why do people put stickers on books like this? Doesn't that just drive you crazy? Anyway, Bill Bryson, this is about the history of the English language. And it's still interesting, but it's just a little harder, considering the topic, for Bryson to put his usual conversational spin on it, I guess. And for that reason, I just don't feel like this is the strongest of his books. Now, that said, it's still Bryson. It's still enjoyable. It just wasn't as enjoyable as, say, I liked his Shakespeare biography, At Home, and then my favorite would be A Short History of Nearly Everything. That is an incredible book. If you've not checked that out, you absolutely should give it a shot, if nothing else. And I have succeeded. I got it off of there. I think there's still a little bit of sticky residue, but what are you going to do? But this one, I think I could do without if I had to get rid of something on my shelves. This might be one I might go, don't really need that. Because it just was a little tedious to get through. So I would say about a 3. It's like I said, it's still Bryson, so it's still fun. He's still very engaging. It just wasn't my favorite of his. Next, we have the novel Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. This is a gay romance and also sort of historical fiction novel. It's set in the 1950s, and it focuses on a young Chinese girl who is discovering the fact that she is homosexual. And it covers both that journey. It also covers the plight of Chinese people at the time who were being very persecuted because of their background. And it covers women in STEM as well, because our main character is really interested in mathematics and wants to be like her aunt, who actually works at Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and at the head of science in her field. And so I have, again, mixed emotions about this book. One, I do think that the journey of the character Lily, particularly like when they're not focusing at the Telegraph Club. The Telegraph Club is a nightclub that focuses on female to male impersonators and is kind of a haven for the LGBTQ community, particularly the lesbian community. And I felt like the Telegraph Club itself was less effective than the scenes where our character Lily is just exploring her relationship with her first friend, then girlfriend, Kath, like at school and just walking through town. Lily is kind of portrayed as a goody kid. I understand what that's like. I was a goody kid. And I just felt like it wasn't terribly realistic that this goody kid would not only begin exploring the thought that she might like the company of women other than the company of men, but also that she'd start sneaking out after midnight, going to a nightclub across town on foot in the dark. I just kind of felt that was maybe a bit of a stretch too far. I could maybe see that in a college-age kid, but in a high schooler that's always been a goody mom's perfect daughter, I just felt like that was a little bit much to believe. And maybe, that's my prejudices, because I obviously, while I was a goody kid, I did not have the experience of being LGBTQ. So, maybe that is strong enough of a pull to move you into going to a nightclub at 2 a.m. But I also felt like this book tried a little too hard to do too much. I felt like it was most successful on the lesbian relationship. It was less successful when it came to things like the women in STEM and the Chinese plight. I felt like those were kind of given short shrift because they wanted to focus on the lesbian angle. I think it would have been a more effective novel if it just focused on that. But overall, it's not a bad read. It's well written from beginning to end. I don't feel like the writer was trying to impress me with their use of language, but I don't feel like it was dumbed down either. I felt like it met you right where you needed to be. I think this one, again, about 3.5. I don't think I would read it again. I think it's a book, again, I got kind of what I wanted to get out of it. So I'll be unhauling this so someone else can enjoy it. But worth a read, definitely. did give me some perspective on what people in those communities were going through. So that's Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. Finally, I have something really special for you, and that is Scaramouche by Raphael Sabatini. I had been recommended this book because I'd heard on some YouTubers that I follow that this was kind of a similar story to Count of Monte Cristo, which is one of my favorite novels of all time. And wow, I love this book maybe as much as, not more, maybe as much as Count of Monte Cristo. I thought it was so good. This is written in English. Raphael Sabatini was born in Italy, but he moved to England and he wrote in English. And this focuses on a lawyer by the name of Moreau who sees what's going on with the revolution around him and is very cynical about it. He's like, revolution is just going to exchange one set of masters for another with the common people, which is really kind of a true observation. But he has a friend who is just gung-ho, viva la revolution. He is ready to fight for the cause. And he's very popular. And really, he's the only reason that our main character has any popularity himself, because everyone's nice to him out of deference for his friend. And his friend is aware that there is a nobleman who executed a man, a serf, for poaching on his land, which was allowable at the time under French law, but was certainly a very harsh way of dealing with a situation like that. And his friend is outraged, and he asks him if he will go with him to see Moreau's godfather. Now, Moreau has been assumed to be a bastard son of the lord that had responsibility for the land he was born on. Because after he was born, he was given an education and a good upbringing, and his godfather, this lord, took care of it all. So his friend says, I'm going to go to the Lord and ask him to intervene in this situation of this peasant being killed for poaching, because that is just outrageous. And Moreau initially tells him no, but finally relents and goes with him. His friend goes in and talks to the Lord, and the Lord says, hey man, I don't get involved. I'm just hands off, not getting involved. And so then he decides to go and argue his case with the nobleman himself. And Moreau goes with him. And the nobleman challenges him in such a way, basically says nasty things about his mama, and more or less forces him to lay down the gauntlet for a duel. Except that Moreau's friend is unable to really defend himself because the nobleman has been practicing swordsmanship his entire life. And of course, Moreau was practicing to be a priest, so he hadn't at all. So the end result is his friend is killed, and he swears vengeance. He is going to be the mouthpiece, even though he doesn't believe in revolution, he's going to be the mouthpiece to avenge his friend. And the rest of the novel is spent in him seeking that vengeance. And it is just plot, 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 plot. If you like a character-driven, plot-driven novel, man, this is the thing for you. And that is what I love. And boy, I mean, this is one of the best adventure novels I've ever read. It was so good. And I enjoyed it so much. If you like that sort of thing too, don't waste any time. Go out, get Scaramouche, read it. It is so fun. And then when people sing that part in Bohemian Rhapsody, you'll know what they're talking about. Definitely get it. 5 out of 5, Scaramouche. Well, that's all I have. That was my reading for June. I'll be back soon with my reading for July. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day. Bye.